everyone. Today we have our another new episode, and today we're going to discuss on startup and AI. We have our world famous speaker, Mr. Rob Enderle. He is very famous on Silicon Valley. He has a core focus on startup development, and AI is a very popular topic right now. So how does this AI work in startup and startup ecosystem? And if you have a different idea like AI about the AI startup, you can share with our audience, because these kind of things our youth has more interest.
Right. So what's capturing all the attention right now in terms of type of AI is generative AI. That's the topic of the moment, and you can get to ChatGPT and use it for free, and then of course you get enhanced capability if you buy a subscription. Right now, in terms of the startup and AI, these language models that they're using are huge, and really it has a lot to do with whether you've got access to data. An awful lot of the startups right now that are trying to create their own generative AI, they're falling short because they don't have access to the data they need to train the AI engine, and that's become problematic. And so it's pretty hard right now as a startup to come up with your own version of a generative AI, because the access to the data you need is it just isn't there. On the other hand, you can use generative AI in a startup as a productivity booster. There was a talk just out of just this last month from Morton, where they're reporting that people are getting between a 30 and an 80% productivity increase from using artificial intelligence. And so that pretty much plays to every startup or every company. If you can get at least 30% increase in productivity, that's a massive bottom line impact. And so granted, it works for those people that work in areas where you're creating text, writing code, creating images, writing scripts, and even for book publishing. Depending on who you are, it's being reported that individual authors are turning up to 200 books, manuscripts, turning up to 200 manuscripts a month using this. So a number of sites have had to shut down and stop taking submissions because they're just overwhelmed. So it has a lot to do, and there are a variety of tools, not just ChatGPT, out there that allow you to create images, pictures, movies, you name it, that you can use generative AI to do it. But as I said, the data sets we're talking about are massive, making it pretty hard to create your own generative AI. Now, I expect that some of these data sets are going to be licensed out at some particular point, and there will be ways to get access to large data sets again. But for now, your best use of generative AI is as a productivity enhancer to get more stuff done more quickly.
Thank you. Mr. Rob, for developing AI, it's a very much costly thing, because we need very high quality engineers, we need very good labs, and definitely industry need to involve with this investment. So how actually Silicon Valley ecosystem work, how they support this industrial research for developing startups, especially in AI and AI related startup?
Well, generative AI caught everybody pretty much flat-footed at the moment. I mean, the chip companies are now altering their roadmaps to put in AI in the processors themselves, and so there's a certain amount of rework going in. Intel will have their mature part in with AI probably towards the middle part of next year. AMD is expected to be a little sooner. Qualcomm next year as well. So we've got hardware coming through, and certainly that's engaging chip designers. As you saw, Microsoft licensed ChatGPT, so actually went to the source of ChatGPT and OpenAI and licensed it from them and did it that way. Google had pulled resources from their own AI project, and now they're trying to ramp up again. They were caught absolutely flat-footed, and Apple's nowhere to be seen with regard to AI at the moment, which is problematic because that new VR headset they have requires it. And so they've got about 6 to 8 months to come up with an AI strategy. where apparently they didn't have one till now. So that's going to be problematic. I expect they're going to buy somebody. The decision and time, and it allows you to license them partnering. So as far as supporting this, as always, depending on the company, they tend to support education institutions, and they'll support a company that's developing along the lines of using their parts. If we're talking about a chip designer, so Intel does provide support for those that develop on their platform, and NVIDIA supplies support for those that develop on their platform, and I expect AMD does the same from time to time. But you have to have a pretty good case before you can get that money, and they will tend to favor domestic submissions over, only because they know them better. They'll tend to favor domestic submissions over foreign submissions. And then after that, probably submissions from English-speaking countries over those from non-English-speaking countries for the same reason. They just are better resourced to review the submissions. So if you are going to submit, make sure it's in the native language of the company that you're submitting to. Otherwise, because they're a little overwhelmed with requests, they may never get to your request. As mentioned before, if you're looking at a big company to help fund you, recognize they have their own agenda, and you may turn around and find them about the company, which is all right if that's what you intended, but can be problematic if you really wanted to run your firm. And I know a number of people that were very surprised, myself included, when a larger company that had invested and promised not to buy went ahead and bought anyway and changed the company and eventually put us under. So you have to be aware of that. You have to play the game with heads up. Generally, your best op before you go to a bigger company and ask for money is to have a viable company already making money, have good proof points, have sales logistics all worked out. Then it's pretty easy. Whether you're going to a VC or you're going to a larger company, your pitch process is going to be a lot easier than if you're primarily pitching wishes and dreams, and you don't really have much to show for it yet. And that's it. It looks like David Smith has joined us, so I probably don't need to continue to circle the wagons. David, good morning. Happy Monday.
Mr. David, we are discussing on startup and AI. What you want to discuss with us, and what's your view about that?
Well, good morning to y'all. I was actually on a prior Zoom talking about AI and startups with one of our portfolio companies, so it kind of slides right into your program, Sharif. AI is such a misunderstood term right now, first of all. AI is so broad that you could drive many trucks through it. And so, first of all, as a startup, I would begin to understand what type of AI I want to use, where I want to use it. We hear a lot about generational AI, conversational AI, machine learning, natural language processing. We hear about LLMs. We hear about tree-based AI. We hear about all these other types of AI. And the reality is they all have their own place. And I can tell you this, when I hear someone say, yes, we have a startup and it's based on AI, I begin to question it and begin to see what type of AI and how it's being used. And is it being used as a buzzword? Because a lot of startups I've seen will say they're using AI, but when you ask to look at the code, they're not using AI at all. So that if they're going for the funding like what Rob was talking about, they better make sure they can pass due diligence. Because I can tell you, the startups I see, as I'm on an investment committee for an accelerator and for an incubator and others, quite a few of them do not pass due diligence at all. And that's really important when you're a startup, is to be able to, when you're going out raising money or trying to form partnerships with advanced companies and things, there's going to be some level of due diligence. And it's worth your while to have your licenses in place, which open source licenses you're using, have a list, have a restrictions, and put those in place so that you can get through some of that due diligence. But the startup arena right now where AI can be used is so broad that it's a fertile ground for a lot of companies. but I'm going to put a couple of other cautions out there. Bob, I think you're being the guy today that's giving all the bright spots. I'm going to throw more of the negatives on today. And one of the things that has just really struck up lately is the amount of bad guys uh, embedding ransomware and putting cyber attacks, uh, putting all type ways to steal information and things into some of the AI tools, and actually beginning to use some of the AI tools to enhance the cyber crimes they are doing. There was a tweet this morning that was very interesting to me about the number of sites using Chat GPT that are nothing but malicious sites, trying to steal information with it, trying to use AI as an enhanced way to be able to make you feel like it's a site that already has your personal information and that you should be on it and should be able to use it. And so you have to be careful with AI. AI, because of its power, because of its ability to learn, is going to bring cyber crimes to a whole new level. And the threat environment has dramatically gone up with AI, particularly for a startup who does not have a very large security staff, if any at all, and the ability to stay informed. Just today, the U.S. Cybersecurity Command up at Fort Meade, Maryland, just released 5 new exploits into their catalog, and 4 of the 5 are nothing but dealing with AI. So it is a place you have to be careful, because it's not only the pure cybersecurity, it's also privacy. Yeah, I'm amazed if you go and ask like Chat GPT what it knows about you, some of the things it comes up with that, quite honestly, I didn't know was out on the internet for it to find. I thought I was safe back in my days before cell phones and stuff and cameras on. But you see some of that's out there even on the privacy side. But it is fantastic opportunity. I was on a call with a client of mine, and they asked a question, and I wasn't quite sure how to answer, and I posed the same question in Chat GPT. It gave me a great outline for me to collect my thoughts around and present. So, I mean, the tools are there, and they can be used for that very easily today for startups. But remember, going back to a startup, the most important thing is finding a market need that you can meet. The second important thing is beginning to put your team together, your human capital together. Very important. Third thing, establish relationships, which will take you to funding, which can take you to customers. And you really have to, in today's time, look at how to get a minimum viable product out very quickly, and understanding that at the very early stages of a startup, it's better to fail fast and pivot a little bit and keep going than to work on something for a long time and then put it out there and see it's a flavor. So those are some of my opening remarks.
Thank you. Mr. Rob, when we discuss about AI, there are a lot of threat and a lot of confusion about AI. Mr. David Smith is correct. And we have to work with a lot of young communities. Uh, Here 50 to 60% youth, they have a plan, they have a futures. When we especially take attend in the seminars and in the classroom, we find student has more interest what type of product they can develop for the future, or uh, how they face industrial challenge, or uh, how they can prepare themselves for handle different kind of AI and AI related activities. What is your advice for the youth communities, and what do you think? What will happen? next 5 to 10 years?
Well, I think a whole bunch of jobs are going to be obsolete. That's one, and so you want to make sure you're not on the obsolescence path if you're in school and you're going that direction. A lot of the jobs that will be impacted are somewhat low-level jobs that they've had difficulty filling of late. Writers, low-level coders, the things that AI has been able to do without a lot of human intervention. Those are the kinds of jobs that are going to go away. The best advice is start learning the tools, and really start learning how to structure sentences and say what you mean succinctly and shortly. These tools are iterative, so you can begin by making a request, and then you make subsequent requests to refine whatever the work product is. You can speed up the process quite a bit if you are succinct up front. You were brief but complete. The more complete your request of the AI is, the less iterations you're going to have to go through, and that makes you more efficient. And I think efficiency is going to be a skill that will be marketable if you can deal with these tools incredibly well. Think back when word processors came in, Office became an offering. The skills having to do, a great typist wasn't as much in demand as somebody that was a great word processor operator. The speed was one thing, but you need to understand how to use the underlying tools and use the programs. Same thing with accounting. Calculator speed probably not going to do you a lot of good, but being an expert in Excel, that was golden. And so same thing here. Folks are going to be looking for people that have AI skills. They're doing now. They are now, but certainly it's going to expand going forward. And so if you're an expert on a variety of the tools, you're going to be in demand. Whether it's understanding how to integrate the tools with something else, or simply understanding how to use them efficiently, you're going to be marketable. And that's probably where your pivot should be now, is whenever possible, learn the tools that are out there. It won't be time wasted, and recognize that your goal is to be as efficient, as succinct, and to do something with as few iterations as possible to keep your productivity up. As I mentioned, according to the Professor Wharton, you get between a 30 and 80% productivity increase. In my estimate, the difference is skills. How good are you in articulating what it is you want? And people across the world often have poor language skills, and they're not good with sentence structure. People have a hard time understanding what it is they mean. That confuses the heck out of AI. You can't walk in and expect to be efficient with a generative AI tool if you can't be succinct and you don't communicate well with people, because the AI tool is not going to infer, where a person might say, okay, I know what you mean, but that's not what you said. AI is going to be pretty literal, and so it's going to react to what it is you said, not necessarily what you mean. At least at this juncture, they'll evolve. But at this particular point, you're better off being succinct, working on your language skills, and operating that way. As far as which tools to learn, pick up the ones that are topical. Blender, ChatGPT, the ones that are actually in use. But keep an eye out, because these tools change out. It almost seems like weekly. And so being aware, depending on where you're targeting your efforts, whether it's animation or coding or writing, creative or otherwise, that will dictate the tool that you use, and stay active on the web, because the next best tool might show up tomorrow, and you want to be on top of it. So things are moving so fast. This is one where you play heads up ball. You stay flexible, don't fall in love with anything, and move with the market. Is my advice at this particular time. The sustaining skill will be being able to convey a message, convey an idea, convey a concept quickly, easily, and succinctly. And be aware, you're going to need that when you ask for funding. You're going to need that. Being able to speak succinctly and convey an idea and concept it has broad implications and advantages throughout your career regardless. And I am kind of surprised we don't focus on that a lot more in education to begin with. But we don't, and to work with AI, we need to fix that.
Thank you. Mr. David Smith.
I could put ditto on the screen with what Rob said because it's so right on. The AI is going to be used in some form of AI is going to be used in almost every product, I think, going forward now. I mean, even you see things like the old ADRs and things that you used when you would call into an airlines or a customer support and everything. They're all being chat box, AI enhanced, voice recognition enhanced, facial recognition enhanced, and all of these are using different type of data science tools to enable them to have better service. But as Rob also commented, one of the big places you're going to see a lot of AI used today is where they cannot find workers. And you're going to see it used in customer service and order placing. You're going to see more and more AI move into the lower level jobs in factories and warehouses and the service industry, and everywhere they can to be able to get more productivity out of the people who are there working. And quite honestly, Sharif, as one of your questions always is, and with startups, that's a great area for startups to look at some of the places where there are shortages of human capital and begin to use it there. Also, there's an environment in the software industry called no code or low code application development. That low code environment's being turned upside down some right now by the use of artificial intelligence tools. And it is allowing people who are not developers to actually write fairly decent code. It's not optimized code like you would see with really good developers. Not necessarily well documented code from what I've seen in some of the low code applications I've looked at recently. But it will get you started and will get you moving towards that minimum viable product or proof of concept products or things for the startups. And as we've all said, getting to something with real code that you can show helps you raise money. It helps you get first customers. It helps you set up strategic partnerships. And those are just so important today. And also, many of the data science AI tools can help you do things in the past that was really hard. Because our digitalization connectivity is global, many products today can be internationalized from the very beginning, where in the past, you wanted to plan for internationalization, but it would come down the road. Now with using a lot of these tools, you can actually do a fair amount of internationalization from the very beginning. One of a fintech company that I advise, they're using AI tools, and their initial beta go-to-market is going to be in 9 languages, all because of the AI tools they're using. Now, is it they're going to have to go back and tweak some of those languages because I don't think the cultural impact and some of the grammar of the AI quite has figured out perfectly yet, but it's getting better all the time. But it allows you as a startup to do things that 5 years ago would have been difficult to do. Internationalization 5 years, 10 years ago was pretty difficult. Now it's pretty easy for some of the ways to handle that. Also, with the way the development process has changed, it's also easier to embed more cloud services in the back end of an application, where the people using it from the front end do not necessarily know that the product actually uses cloud backend services to do some of the information gathering. A lot of those happen to be AI-based tools today. So for a startup, it brings a whole new dynamics onto what you can do and how the startup can be used. And I think that's good for startups. You also usually ask about governments, and same thing applies for governments. I'm seeing more and more governments begin to try to use these tools internally, where in the past they've gone out and used third-party contractors to do it. And it's exciting for me right now that the challenge we have right now is we're moving so fast that the regulations have not caught up. We're moving so fast that the best practices of applying all these tools has not caught up yet. So it's a time that you have to really understand what you're doing, go slow with it, and but still begin to develop your products and get them out there so you can get your funding and customers. So Dr. Sharif, I hope that answers your questions.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. David Smith. We have a question from Mr. Daniel. And will AI be better for entrepreneurs than job seekers? Mr. Rob.
Well, it's like you could say the same thing about word processors. Is it better? It really kind of depends. For a job seeker, it's going to be a required part of your background, a major part of your resume going forward. I mean, people are going to want to know that you know how to use the tools, much like they need to know that you knew how to use whatever other tools we had in the past, word processors, spreadsheets, etc. So that'll become a requirement for entrepreneurs. Really, I mean, yeah, I mean, but the tool, the nature of the tool is going to depend on what you're building, and and how critical it will be will depend on that outcome. As an entrepreneur, you start with what it is you're trying to accomplish, and you back into the tool. You don't start with the tool and try to figure out what you want to accomplish. So the tool should not dictate your direction. They should simply enhance what it is you're trying to do. So it really kind of depends. It's like, does a hot engine better benefit a circular track guy or a road course? Yeah, I mean it benefits both, but in different ways, I guess is how I'd answer it. And as I mentioned before, I've got a hard stop here in 2 minutes, so this will be it for me. I've got to take my dog to therapy, so go figure. So until next time, I'll say goodbye. But best of luck, everybody, and happy Monday.
Thank you, Mr. Rob. Mr. David Smith, what's your answer on that particular questions, Mr. Daniels?
Well, Daniel has asked good questions in the past too, and my answer is really similar to Rob's. Is the different AI tools are good for both of them, and it's good for established companies as well. Some of the AI tools make it so much easier to write a resume today. Some of the AI tools will help you get through with keyword placement a lot of the screening tools that corporations are using to screen resumes. As I talked about earlier, some of the tools will let entrepreneurs move faster, be able to go and produce code faster, move into an environment faster as well. So is it better for entrepreneurs than job seekers? It's good for both of them. It's good for large corporations. It's good for governments to use the different data science AI tools. But once again, what's good about AI also presents the challenges with the cybersecurity challenges, the privacy challenges, and the discrimination that is built into the AI tools as they are today. That's, again, part of the reason why some of the tools are not allowed to work in parts of the world is because the built-in biases are so great that they're just not useful in most parts of the world today. So, Sharif, that's my answer to that question.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Eric, for joining today's session. What you want to discuss about startup and AI? We have a specific question from Mr. Daniel. He want to know, will AI be better for entrepreneurs than job seeker?
Will AI be better for entrepreneurs than job seekers? That's a pretty wide question. Overall, job seekers better understand AI. So I think there's more opportunity for, there's going to be opportunity for job seekers who understand AI, because it's not just AI, asking the right questions in the right way and knowing what to ask and coming up with concepts is heavily tips the scale toward creatives, people that aren't just there to crank out a job. But it's like having an assistant, reasonably competent assistant that can speed up what you're doing and give you ideas to go on. So for job seekers, that's pretty attractive. On the other hand, entrepreneurs can also use AI to do things way faster, because what you're doing is you're replacing time. I know just in the marketing stuff I'm doing, it sometimes takes minutes, hours, or a day instead of weeks to come up with stuff, because it increases the speed. So entrepreneurs typically have less resources in terms of people and money and timeline. They have to deliver fast because you often don't have this runway of money sitting there keeping you going for. So I think for entrepreneurs, it's the big advantage because just of time. But it also opens up new opportunities because AI is a business. Training AI, interfaces for AI, uses for AI. A friend of mine is, has a business that's getting medical data just for use in training AIs. So you have to quality control the data, like David was talking about. If you're going to train your AIs, it's much better if you can screen the data. So just screening data, coming up with data sets. And second of all, it's the new algorithms, it's the new interfaces. I'm seeing a lot of entrepreneurs right now incorporating AI into their tools. For example, their marketing and funnel and sales funnel software that goes right from AI to automatically building the funnels. So again, not perfect, but what used to be done a long time takes a few minutes. So the key there is that there's going to be a lot of innovative ways to make tools that incorporate AI, integrate AI, use AI, in addition to creating the AI itself in terms of data set, data QA, training, algorithms. And then there's the use of AI within the entrepreneurs just to speed up their businesses. So yeah, I think there's three things. There's the AI itself, there's using AI for your business, and there's the entrepreneurial opportunities with integrating and using and coming up with AI products. I mean, we're already seeing it all over the place. So
Thank
that's
you.
my first.
Thank you. Mr. David Smith, how we can train more people as a data scientist, as a AI engineers, what type of content, because there are a lot of online content right now. How you advise the young community what type of content they should use for develop themselves as an AI expert?
Well, you've hit some of the keys there. There's a tremendous amount of online content. There is a tremendous amount of boot camps happening everywhere. Almost every online university and college I know is adding classes after classes for data science. And internal corporations are adding courses for AI data science as well, because it's becoming so mission critical. My suggestion is there's so many AI tools you can play with today, is to start playing with them. Because like Eric said, and like I said earlier, if you're an employee, you're going to have to know something about AI going in today. And the more you know about AI, you're going to have a more of an advantage of getting a new job today, I believe. But there's just so many training applications. Sharif, you've heard me talk so many times in the past about how we're in a time of lifelong learning. The rapid rise and introduction of AI is a great example of where that lifelong learning is so important. If you look at just how ChatGPT has hit the market, tremendous adoption time, tremendous uptick time. And 2 years ago, that wasn't a term that if you were not a really advanced data geek, you would not have known. And so the importance of the lifelong learning, the importance of refreshing your skills, updating your skills, and all that just cannot be underestimated today. And it's something that you should do whether you're an entrepreneur in a startup or whether you're a 20-year veteran in a large company or in the government. That type of skills update, that type of lifelong learning is critical for today's time, because the half-life of information, the half-life of the tools we're using is getting shorter and shorter. And if you're going to anywhere close to stay up, you have to do it as a lifelong learning approach. So Sharif, hope that answers.
Thank you. Mr. Eric.
So of course the first thing we all do is we go online and look for online courses. When it comes to machine learning and deep learning, those have been around a lot, where you can find a lot of those courses online and at the university, and the university online courses are already out there doing it. Books are a little harder because it takes time to get a book, so they're a bit behind. But there's a lot of libraries now and AI frameworks that include learning right within them. And there's even AI competitions. I've seen some. So some websites are hosting AI competitions, which of course you learn by either being observer and seeing what doing, or by participating. I think we're going to see more of these, massively open online courses. The danger comes when you use AI to create one of those, which some people will try doing, because it's not going to be as fact-checked or as rigorous as it could be. Some will, but there's a real chance that the challenge is a lot of people will be using AI to create AI learning. And so you can use AI to create your own AI learning too. So that's pretty helpful, except for when it's not, which is when it becomes misleading or not organized right. Having a mentor that really understands that to QA all those, whether it's a massively open online course, a MOOC, or whether it's information on there. I think getting a lot of communities are setting up. So if you get a community of people like you, and the best way to get it is to create projects with timelines, even if they're artificial, because it forces you to learn. So I think a lot of project-based learning happens. So I would say probably some of the strongest is going to be these communities that support each other, and the projects and contests that come out of those communities. I think the real key is to get a portfolio of problems that you've solved. And so pick your favorite problems and try solving a portfolio, saying, how do I use AI to find and put together pieces to solve solutions? So I think if you're more focused, less about the AI and the solutions that you want to deliver that are interest of you, and practice doing those solutions, of course, you can augment that by looking at some training to do that. But I think the focus for a lot of people that just want to get out there using it is less about learning everything about the AI down, although there's a path for that if you want to become that kind of data scientist or AI expert. I think there's a lot of room for saying, look, here's how I used AI to do marketing, sales, logistics, anything like that. I think getting connected with communities and working either independently or with others on projects is a real useful tool for learning AI.
Eric, I agree with you that those are really useful tools for learning AI as well. And that has always been one of my ways I've learned the best, when I can go and create dissonance as I learn better. And working with a tool, learning it with some trial and error, always lets me know the tool better. So 100% agree with you. That is one of the better approaches, particularly with AI, which so much of it is hidden from you. You really can't go in and most of the AI tools and examine the code today. So you're trusting what's in there. And trial and error is often the best time to learn part of that. And Sharif, I know that's not a great answer, but it's really some of the reality with how we're seeing AI tools being implemented today.
And there's another way to learn AI, and that's even if you learn something basic, teach somebody else. That really helps me. Is when you have to teach somebody, you have to explain these things that before you just took for granted. Oh yeah, of course it does that. And then when you think, so I do. I have some tutoring students, and they ask questions about the metaverse and the AI quite regularly, and I find that when I have to explain it to them, it really clarifies even my own, makes you go back to basics and clarify those ideas. So I encourage teaching, even if it's being part of a community and teaching somebody else in the community something.
Excellent. Mr. David Smith, as you also work with NASA, especially Wicked Problem Solver. So what is your experience? How they handle different kind of AI related projects or startup inside their company?
Well, you've asked a question which is a wicked question in its own right. If you look at where AI tools are being used the most today, they're rapidly changing processes, they're modifying processes, they're enhancing or taking humans out of the loop, particularly ones where you can use AI to make decisions faster. And so they're a threat to some employees, they're a threat to some management. And so you're seeing that. So the adoption, for every product today is looking at how to use AI tools and how to apply the data science. There's still some resistance from the human capital side. There's a fear that it will take jobs away from them. There's a fear that the human answer might be wrong and the AI one might be correct, or it might be the other way around. And how do you, as a human, say the artificial intelligence is wrong, even though we've seen many instances where the AI is actually wrong because the LLMs were not put together well, or the question was misstated. Rob mentioned earlier the importance of learning how to ask and write the right questions, clear questions. With many of the AI tools, particularly the generational AIs, the conversational AI, that is something that is so important today, is asking the question the right way, or you're going to get back answers that are not necessarily accurate. So again, you can hear as what Eric said, what Rob said, what I've said. The whole area of AI is exciting, but also has its challenges. So, Sharif, I hope that answers.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Eric.
Well,
If you
there's
share your experience about startup ecosystem development based on Silicon Valley, any companies and corporations or innovation lab, maybe our audience, our students, they will be benefited.
well, I do want to address one interesting idea is I used to deal a lot with weather models, and they use supercomputing, and they were kind of top of the line, so it's a pretty good example. And none of them are right, but they're all helpful. So we used to use ensembles. So we would get all the models working together. So I kind of wonder in the future whether AI can be used to check AI. But when it comes to Silicon Valley, there's a lot of define the shortcut to me. What shortcut are you providing? Why is it going to work? What's the market? Do you have any proof? So with a lot of entrepreneurs thinking about this, some people are just going to be AI experts, which are going to play and again be a solution looking for a problem. We know how to do this. So can they quickly bridge the gap to something that they can explain to people clearly and demonstrate that it makes a difference? The other sides are people with problems looking for solutions. So I think there's so much out there that there's really no shortage of things you can do. It's can you clearly establish a business case for it and talk about, the benefit of this and how it's going to roll out and how you can continue to be competitive in the market. Because one of the problems with using disruptive technology is somebody will disrupt you with your disruptive technology and you're out. So you need to kind of step back strategically and think, what are we trying to do in the long term? What can we do in the short term? I think now would be a bad time to invest totally into like Chat GPT. I mean, some use it for sure, integrate it, but to base your strategy on the fact that this is going to be, because there could be another AI out next year that is way different. So you need to plan your disruption in a way that doesn't fix you down one path that can be disrupted easily. In other words, it's okay to use Chat GPT, but you need to ask yourself a question. Well, what if Chat GPT isn't there? What if we need to integrate Chat GPT and something else? So it's kind of like, Tower Records was very interested in selling records and then tapes and the CDs. And then when it went streaming, they went out of business because they were too tied into the idea of not music, but delivering these, into distribute a certain way. So I think that's my number one piece of advice is, look for those problems, look for those solutions, but realize you're in a highly disruptive market. So plan for that disruption. Plan for the fact that your business may be completely different in 5 years. As long as you understand what class of problems you're solving and you don't get so fixated on this is the one solution that's going to be there forever, I think you'll be okay.
Excellent. Mr. David Smith, what's your concluding remarks for today's session?
Well, Sharif, your topics again are always timely, and startups and artificial intelligence. And as you heard me do, I always throw data science on there because AI is such a broad and misunderstood term. Is important today. I do not believe I could be a startup without at least thinking about AI. And I agree with Eric's comments about the hot topics of AI and seeing how it's being enhanced. It's like one of the early, very popularized AI tool was Watson from IBM. And then Watson got pulled back off the market because it wasn't working. And IBM is releasing this month Watson X. a new version of a different AI tool, a new framework, a new data structure and everything, trying to go forward and take part of that AI market back to IBM again. You know, you see Microsoft incorporating a lot of GPT into the Microsoft products after they invested a lot of money into OpenAI Corporation, the company that makes ChatGPT, and GPT is the parent product of that. You're seeing others. You're seeing Google come out with their own AI tools and their own conversational AI tools. So a lot of people are getting in the market, and a lot of them are going to be used by the different platforms they're on. I would love to take AI tools, run them in my own data center, but increasingly that's being very difficult to do because of the very large libraries that are being used to train the AI. And so more and more you're having, for the major platforms, fewer options. And you're going to be running it in their cloud and sharing your data with them. And if you read the details of the agreements, and Eric, I sometimes am one of those guys who read through those agreements that we usually just click on. And you'd be surprised what ChatGPT can do with your information. You can be surprised what Bob and all these others can do with the information you enter into it. And so again, think about privacy, think about security, think about how to learn and continue to learn. But also think about, as a startup, you need to find the market niche again. You need to find your team, your best human capital. You need to work on relationships. You need to get funding. You need to get first customers. And you need to move towards your proof of concept, your minimal viable product. And as I said before, fail fast in those early days and pivot and come out with a product that can succeed on the market. And I can tell you, probably the vast majority of the products today for startups, it will involve some type of data science and artificial intelligence. So Sharif, thank you so much for letting me be part of the program again today.
Thank you. Any
Yeah. So when I was Chief Strategy Officer of a performance marketing agency, I can't begin to say how many startup companies came in and said, "Can you help?" And it's like, "What's your marketing budget?" "Oh, we don't have one because we spent it all in trying to get something built and we thought it would sell itself." So I think the big thing this can do is help these companies market and do market analysis way ahead, and also do that fast failing testing. So to me, that's the number one biggest thing, is they essentially have at least a market analysis department, which is very low cost. It's not perfect, but it's so much better than what most startups are dealt with, because, you know, they have a few people, and if they're lucky, they have somebody who knows marketing. But a lot of times they have people who know AI or software coding or something like that. So to me, that's the biggest plus, is you essentially have a marketing and analysis department. Because if you know how to grab the data, a lot of data is in there. I mean, the AI is read a lot. So you can have it group your market into segments and all kinds of interesting things if you know how to ask it correctly. So that's to me the speed of which they can ask about tests, help them come up with their testing program, the speed at which they can do market analysis and come up with their marketing, I think is going to be one of the biggest pluses.
Thank you. Excellent. This is an excellent session, especially for our audience. You know, World Talent Economy Forum, we are, beside this dialogue, whatever we learn, we are doing a lot of research work. We are publishing papers. We are organizing very high quality conference like Nikola Tesla Technology Conference, Talent Economy Conference, SDG Conference. Beside that, we are developing lab. You will be happy. In Bangladesh, we built up 14 lab. With university grant commissions, with largest public university, with largest private university, with largest corporations. So beside that, we are also working with Gujarat. Recently Narendra Modi, he visit USA, and there is a very high level discussions and dialogue in between India and USA. World Talent Economy Forum also working with Gujarat cities, and we are also helping them through our ecosystem. So hopefully, through our initiative, we can bring more success and more progress, and through these collaborations, we can make a realistic world where people and the youth community can solve problem and serve for the nations. So hopefully those who join World Talent Economy Forum, those who support World Talent Economy Forum, the youth community, those who engaging with the World Talent Economy Forums, recently the World Bank, the Asian Development Bank, all of the support we are getting from around the world. I want to give thanks to all of them. Besides that, I want to give special thanks to our audience, and especially our speakers. Your support, your contribution actually priceless. So if you want to visit Bangladesh or India, I want to invite you all in Bangladesh. Hopefully you can see our real project, our real progressions, and you can understand the value of your dialogue and value of your experience. Thank you everyone for joining today's session. Thank you. Bye bye and take care.